Hey there, you found yourself on the Willow Walk Podcast, where we're shrinking the distance between the pews by getting to know our congregation better. Today, I have Mr. Ron Johnson with us. Ron, how are you?
I'm doing really good, Sean, and I appreciate you asking us to be on the podcast. This is, would say, my first podcast.
Hey.
So you'll have to be patient with me as we go through the podcast and ask your questions really plainly and give me time to think enough to how to answer them, because I'm not really quick on my feet. But anyway, I appreciate it, and it's an honor to be here, and we appreciate what you do. You're such an active member in the church, and you do so many good things. I know you got young kids and an active wife and an active mother-in-law, and participate in many activities at church, and we really appreciate that. We need a lot of workers in the church, and if everybody worked in the church, we could probably conquer the world, you know. So.
That's the truth. I think we could get a lot done if people. And you know what's crazy is it just takes trying it, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of the way I've got into some things like Willie Mills, but asked to be a substitute, and then so I grew into be a delivery person. So that's the way it works. And sometimes, Sean, some people need to be asked, and they asked me on that one. I had thought about it, but didn't think it fit my busy schedule, so to speak. I'm retired. But anyway, some people need to be asked, and that's okay. And I really think everybody in the church needs to be valued. Valued not necessarily of their talents, but everybody has to be valued some way, somehow, and to feel like a member of the church. Okay, so that's my point. Okay, in order to do that, some people need to be asked.
Sure.
Some people don't need to be asked. Some people will volunteer.
Sure.
And if we had that 20% of the church that volunteered to do 80% of the work, then we still couldn't get much done. But if 80% of the people work, or 100% of the people work, then we're really accomplishing a lot. And I think that should be the goal of the church and the elders and the deacons and people that like this podcast. I think our main goal is to get everybody to work and value everybody, every member, every person in the church. And a lot of people need to be asked. And I think that's okay. I can ask them, you can ask them, so... But if you do that, then they feel, say, well, he's asked me to do something, So we did that with a redoing, restructuring of the care group teams, which you're going to ask me a few minutes ago. And I just went out and asked somebody.
Have you looked at my notes?
No, but that's the way we need to do it. We need to ask people. I think, and I think you know what I'm talking about. You can kind of look at the people and watch how they act. Some of them are kind of private and quiet and meek.
Sure.
As the Bible says. And so others are outspoken, talkative, really social people in the church,
Yeah.
So, but, we can figure that out. So,
well, and that's kind of been my experience too. I mean, you see me in there jumping into things all the time now, but 2 years ago, well, I don't know. It may be a little more than 2 years ago.
I didn't know your name 2 years ago.
Right. So many people didn't. So many people didn't.
I've aggravated you.
No, I'm serious. But about 2.5 years ago, whatever that timeline was, there was this vacancy in the sound booth, and I guess my dad threw me under the bus and said I was good with technology. And John Hudson, who I have a pretty good relationship with, right? I appeared in front of him most Wednesdays in court, and he came up to me and said, hey, we need a little bit of help in the sound booth, and your dad says that you know how to do technology, and it started there. And of course, that's something that I was personally interested in.
Talented. That's your talent.
Come now.
You got a talent.
Well, listen. I will say this. Humility is something that I have had to develop over time, right? I have always considered myself to be a pretty smart person, right? Especially going through school. School was a breeze, right? And technology was always something that I was very interested in, and people always come to me for. But I will say this. God has blessed me
Yes.
with a lot of different talents.
Yes. I know.
And there are hindsight's 2020, right? There are so many things like video editing that I was just doing with a buddy on some random project that he was working on, and I was learning how to do that. And cutting things together in high school off of an old, Handycam video camera, making stupid YouTube videos, right? When YouTube was fresh. But those things developed over time to where now when people say, hey, I think it would be a good idea if we had some way to get to know all the deacons and what they're working on, I said, hey, I've got some cameras. I've got some lights, right? Let's do this, right? God finds a way to put you exactly where you need to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
God is good.
Yeah. And that 2.5 years ago, that's where I needed to be.
Yeah.
And now I do all this stuff to the point where I've turned down taking over things.
I'm going to question you now.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So before the 2.5 years ago,
Sure.
compared to where you're at right now, do you feel you're more blessed now?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Because you're a servant.
Yeah. I was, sitting in that pew, just being a bench warmer. And maybe that's what I needed for that period of time. Maybe I did need to sit there and listen to it and let it soak in, and that may have been okay, right? But over time, I especially I heard a lot of lessons that Ben Smith was giving back then,
Sure.
And talking about how lukewarm some of the church, how the body of the church is sometimes.
But don't you think when you're a new member, though, when you first come into the church, you're in awe. I was, and the church was really big.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people I didn't know, and some of them I knew were lawyers, like John or some. They had a really outstanding job and did a good job. And then I sat there in the pew and I thought, well, these people are really talented.
Sure.
They are really sharp. And I was humbled to sit on the bench, and I thought that's where I needed to be because I was in awe of what was
Sure.
going on the first few years. And then they asked me to be a deacon, so I had to start working. But anyway, I think that's what, people come to the church and they sit there and they think that these people, boy, and they think they're not talented. And
Sure.
That's why it takes a little while transition period when you come into Well Avenue, where if you were in a small church, you'd see an immediate need possibility. I'm not saying we don't have needs at church.
Sure.
But, I think we all go through that transition, about starting to do things and we have the opportunity on the new app, you have the opportunity to sign up on all these different parts of the work of the church, and you can sign up for one thing or you can sign up for all of them. If you can sing and preach, that just about includes all of them. I didn't do that, but I signed up for most of them. But I think it's a transition when you first come into Well Avenue because it's a big church, it's
Sure.
a big building.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too, being a larger congregation than
Yes.
say your country church, right,
Yes.
is that
Number of people.
Well, if you're in a country church, it doesn't matter how well you can sing. If they need a singer, somebody's got to get in there and do it, right? But in a congregation like Willow, where you have 20 men who could get up there and lead singing at the drop of a hat, you don't have people jumping up there who have never done that, who because there's not a need here.
No, there's
right?
a talent. We have a talent. Abundance of talent of singers.
Yeah.
Just come on sing in on the last Sunday night.
Yeah.
You'll find out.
But to that point, having all of that opens up opportunities for something that you are comfortable with, something that you do have talents with. You can find that spot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, there's plenty of places right now. There's still plenty of places at Willow that we need people to work.
Sure.
The harvest is plenty. It's we need so many people to work. I mean, we even need it in the care group, care team system. So there's so many people that are sick right now. And it seems like I say this every 2 or 3 months. We've just got a lot of people that's sick and suffering. But then I think, well, then the next 2 or 3, we've got more people that's sick and suffering that need attention and care and a letter or a good word of encouragement. So things. There's just so many things going on with a church this size. most people, and I didn't for a long time, I couldn't keep up with what was going on. I'm confessing to you now. When I first came here, I could not keep up with all the activities at this church. I wasn't involved with them. But the youth, they'd get up and say, okay, the youth are going to camp. I thought, wow, I didn't know that was going to happen, and we're going to do this. And I thought, wow, I didn't hear about that, But I mean, you got to read the bulletin, Sean. You got to read the bulletin. You got to pay attention to the announcements, and to keep up what's going on, because there's a whole lot like Bible Bowl right now is going on. There's a lot of things. Youth have a lot of youth activities, and that's wonderful because the youth is, of course, the future of the church.
Yeah. Bible Bowl's this Saturday.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I caught it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've taken over Bible Bowl this year for Jeff and Debbie.
That's good.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And thank you. It's the last big thing I'm taking over for a while.
I can see why.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I did Bible Bowl for so long.
Yes.
Right here.
We have all probably in our lifetime, if you've been a member of a church, been involved with the Bible Bowl.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, well, kind of organizing it won't be that bad because I'm not teaching any of these kids. I'm just, lining up people who, most of the people did it last year and they'll want to do it again. But like right now, my wife was texting me earlier today. We're trying to figure out exactly what food we're going to have on Saturday, right? It's things you don't think about.
I'd probably depend on Jeff. Debbie is real good for information. And Jeff,
oh, yes.
Jeff, I know, is the front man, but Debbie is the one that's just full of information on how to do things.
You should have.
I've asked her, I don't know how many questions in the past about care teams and questions about what's going on in church.
You should have seen the email that she sent me with all the details.
A big one.
Oh, man, it was just paragraph after paragraph. She apologized several times in her email for how long it was, but every bit of that email was useful.
We called that a book and a text message.
It was.
Somebody just texted me a book.
Yeah. It was a user manual in email form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you talked a little bit about the visitation and the care groups that you have going on. Now, you are the deacon over that program, right?
Yes, I am.
And how long you been doing that?
Well, if you want to start out, it was probably at 17 that they asked me to become a deacon. And when they met with me and asked me if I'd be interested in being a deacon, and I said, well, okay. I'd been a deacon in Livingston, and so I said, sure. And when they asked me to do it, said, would you help or oversee the visitation program? And of course, I knew what that was. There was one in Livingston. I didn't know the specifics, and I said, well, I don't care a bit to do it, but I'll have to have help.
Sure.
I mean, with a church this size, there's no way one person can do what you're wanting me to do, and I would have to say no unless we have help. And they said, what kind of help you want? I said, I want an elder. I want somebody that's done it before, and I wouldn't care to have either a youth minister or somebody involved in the teaching program. Because I don't know these people, and I don't know who's who. That's where the elder could come in with advisory. And then if somebody's done it before, then we have a basis to go by. And I said if we had a minister, youth minister, somebody involved in it, then we'd specifically know maybe some of the people that need help and how to do that, So I was fortunate enough that they come back to me and they called me and said, well, we're looking at Tom Sponholtz, Clarence DeLoach, and Dan Huffines.
Sure.
Didn't know Dan Huffines. I mean, I knew of him, but I'd never been around. I knew Clarence DeLoach because he was preaching.
Sure.
And I knew Tom Sponholtz because I knew his wife, knew his family. Part of those were from Livingston. I said, okay, I'll do it. If they're going to help me, I'll be glad to do it. So it wasn't like an ultimatum or nothing. It was just a suggestion. It's just this church is so large. At Livingston, they had 3 people, two or three people that helped with it. So they agreed. They told you, you can't do it by yourself. So we started in 17 and met in Clarence's office, and there was probably 6-8 months of planning that went on because the things, it had been going on in the past. Mike Dyer had been over it. Tom Sponholtz had been over it. And what normally happens in some of our church activities, it starts off really good, and then it kind of sputters and sparks a little bit, and then it goes downhill.
Sure.
And we didn't want that to happen. And so It says Clarence says that if we plan it right, then it will continue. And Clarence he's been totally right. He says it has to be redone every once in a while, but you got to start it off with a set of guidelines and purpose and you know what you want the people to do, so they understand it, and they've got to feel that they're a part of it. And so all this planning involved that, and there was a lot of discussions, and Tom had a lot of input. Dan basically kept quiet, but I mean, he was part of it. He was the elder to go to the other elders to agree or not agree to what we were proposing, of course, So we didn't have to meet with the elders. Dan was the elder that agreed to everything or not agreed to everything, So we decided visitation teams would be what it would be called, and we wanted to prioritize visitation. And sending cards was okay, and sending emails were okay, and sending texts were okay. And so that was the purpose. So it took us almost, not hardly a year, but I think it started in 17, so I think 18, and I could be wrong, it could have been 19. I think it was sometime in 18 we had sign-ups, and we just had sign-up sheets put out in front and got up. And I did a PowerPoint that lasted 15, 20 minutes. After they did, Jeremiah Tatum was the minister at that time. He did a short lesson, and then I did a 15, 20-minute PowerPoint on all the visitation and what we were planning and all the things, teamwork and who could be on the team and what we were going to do. And so it kind of was informative type thing that they understood before we ever done the sign up. So that's what they wanted me to do. So I did what they wanted me to do, And now you got to remember, I retired in 2009, and I was in front of people teaching all the time, working with the chamber, working with all these orders, but I hadn't been too much up in front of a group of people prior for those 10 years,
Sure.
So it was a big deal. I remember going over that PowerPoint. Of course, PowerPoint, almost teaches itself if you set it up right. And I think I had 15, 18 sheets of information, so I really poured it on it heavy, and I didn't have to remember. I could read it off that back screen, and you well know what I'm talking about. But anyway, it went over real good, and we had, I'm probably got the number wrong, we had 100 and something people, 150 people or something to sign up, and that counts the husband and the wife, of course. And so it started off, and we had either 6 or 8 teams. So what we were dealing with is each team specialized on a specific group of individuals, like team 1 would have been the nursing homes or healthcare facilities.
Sure.
Team 2 would have been friends and families, not specifically members. And then one of them would be members, and then one of them would be new members or people that had been restored or baptized or come forward and asked for prayers. That was a specific. And then we had I think it was 7 teams, and the 8th team was to go out and do evangelism. They wanted to put that in there. And I said, I agree, we're all supposed to evangelize,
sure.
But I said, I don't think I need to be the team leader on that. That needs to be an elder probably. And so it was a team then. But anyway, those were the teams. But what became, I'm going to just confess to you now, I was the deacon. And so once it started, then the responsibilities fell on me to oversee 6 teams that met 4 weeks a month that had to be prepared as their guidelines and everything. I had to do that, which I didn't mind to do. I was a little younger then. I probably couldn't do what I did. Just like when I was in Livingston running 200 acres and 70, 80 head of cattle, buying, trading, selling farm equipment. I couldn't do that now either. I wouldn't want to do it now. But anyway, it turned out real good until the pandemic hit in 20.
Sure.
So we did it 2 years. And of course, the church shut down, and it just stopped everything. It stopped the Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. It stopped every meeting, every youth meeting. It stopped everything that we were doing in the church till about May or June, and then it started back up on Sunday mornings. I can't remember the specifics, but anyway, we were meeting 1 day a month or 1 day a week, I think. And so you couldn't have any organizations going on because you couldn't meet. We couldn't meet and have meetings, So I think finally it shut down again. Then it started back up in July, and then it shut down again. I can't remember. The elders started back up, And so in the fall, then we started talking about it. We started meeting on a regular basis and having church on a regular basis. And so a lot of people didn't come back to church, as you well know.
Sure.
So we had to be real patient because we didn't know what was happening with the pandemic like nobody else did. If this was going to work, we had to be, and I kept telling us, we're going to have to be patient because we're in uncharted waters about will they come to these meetings because everybody was scared to death to be in a meeting.
It's a weird time.
Face mask, scared, uncertain, risk. I don't want COVID, and their friends and families were passing away, and they did not want to be in a group, So we didn't do nothing for a while. We just kind of did the mandatory basic church activities, So finally it started back up. We got it going. It was sometime in 21. We started back up. And so we called it the visitation team to begin with, but that just scared everybody to death. I mean, we didn't have many to sign up. So I went to the elders and went through Dan and then Clarence, I think, left us somewhere in there. But anyway, I said, we can't call it that visitation anymore. I said, they don't want to visit. They don't want to go to their homes, hospitals. I said, we're going to have to change the name or we're not going to have many people to sign up. So they said, what do you think? I said, well, what about care teams or care groups or something like that we care about people and then we want to be concerned about them. So they thought that was a good, I didn't do it by myself. I asked, we have leaders on those 6 teams too also. 6 or 7 teams, there was 3 leaders per team that I had to go ask to get organized to take care of each team. You had the person in charge, somebody taking notes and leading prayers, and then somebody as a substitute or a backup to move on in case one of those. So I had 18 people that we organized each month that we had to contact and meet with. So that's a huge, huge responsibility.
It's a lot of people.
So when we started back, we reorganized the teams to 2 teams, and so 2 or 3 people per team. So we had to simplify it. So when we started back, and I, you need to ask me questions. If you don't think I'm explaining it, I want you to ask me questions. What we did, we had 2 teams. Okay, the first team number 1, as it is right now, is concentrating on those people that are at home that can't get out and come to church very often or at all.
Sure.
They may be handicapped, disabled. They may have hospice. They may have, their children living with them, but they don't get to come to church. That's team 1, plus the healthcare facilities and assisted living and the upcoming Christian home. We thought that would make one team. It's a big team.
It's a big team.
Yeah, it's over 50 people. And then the second team, we thought, well, let's just throw everybody else. We just took the teams, and let's just throw everybody else on team 2. And team 2 would include members that are sick, any member, church member. And then it would include church family. Say my brother's sick. He would be put on the list for a certain period of time until he got better, maybe 3 or 4 weeks or whatever the period of time. And then we thought, well, let's put the hospital and rehab things on it. So we did that, and then we added new church members, baptisms, prayer, people asking for prayers, and we put the military, and we put our young people on it that's off to college. So I've moved the college age. We're working on right now getting members, those young people that have gone to college and their addresses. We moved them back over to Team 1 because it makes Team 2 too big. If you have, when we reorganized this year, we ended up with 65 individuals. Okay, so if half of those are on Team 1 and Team 2, and you have 100 people that need to be contacted during the month, then we don't have enough people. And the goal to begin with in 17 or 18 was everybody should have contacted in some form or fashion once per month minimum. So when you join a team, if you signed up and joined a team, your minimum responsibility was to contact one person that month, either by phone call, visit, text message, or send them an email. Emails might as well be taken off because nobody, you would agree, nobody pays attention to emails. They do texts.
Yeah.
And
texts are much more urgent.
I am really impressed by our, and I don't want to call them the old people, I guess the older young people who text. I cannot believe of all 65 people that became members of the teams, Team 1 and Team 2 in February, March, whenever it was, April. All of those text except 8 or 10 people.
Yeah.
So 50-something people will text. How I know that is that I can't find them, my registration for Team 1 and Team 2. There's 10 or 12 people that are not on the app.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do the app, so they don't text. So I don't know how we can help. You know, you've been helping me with that and looking at how we do this on the app of how to care for the care teams. But I asked him to type us up a hard copy for all those people that don't do an app, and anybody that wants to see, you might want to see who's always on the team, and you don't want to run through the app. So, but I mean, you can look at this and get their emails. So, Kim was gracious enough to type that in. Kim does a good job. Office does a good job. Whatever we asked them to do, they do a very good job. So, we got 65 people right now, 2 teams, and Tim Richardson and Jimmy Key are over Team 2, and I started with Team 2 first. I don't know why. Team 1 is Lewis Cunningham and Toby Russell. I like to call Toby Keith, but he don't like to be called Toby Keith. So Toby Russell are the 2 on Team 1, and we were in a little bit. This is a good thing. In August, in July we had 40-something people of the 60 to attend that team, and that was vacation month. And then in August, we had I don't know, 15, 18 to attend the team meetings. But what really shocked me, they turn in a card every month or a piece of paper with a number of contacts, and they can do it weekly. They can put one contact on this card.
Sure.
Or they can actually fill out the sheet of paper of Team 1 and just write the people, their names are on the side, and they can just say call, visit, or whatever. They can turn in the whole paper. Well, I didn't think nothing about it. So in August the teams met, and they turned their numbers into me. I make a graph, send it to the elders,
sure,
so they know we have some kind of validity and openness about what's going on, and the elders can see. Of course, the elders are involved in it. It's not like the elders know everything. But anyway.
They're not sitting up on their ivory tower.
But I got home and I started that Sunday night after the team meeting. So Monday morning, I said, I got to add up the numbers, So they texted them to me Sunday afternoon. So I knew team 1 had 300 people or 300 contacts. Team 2 had 500 contacts. Well, I said, 500, that's a little bit high, I said, I wonder if that's correct. So I actually asked Regina Wilson, Vern's wife, I said, is that 500? Is that really right? She said, I thought I never would get done counting the people. I said, why come it's so much higher this much? She said, I don't know. But I went to find out. I had gone to Austin in the month of August, early in August, and took him over to the visitation desk and went over it with him, what we were doing. And when I explained to Austin, I said, now listen, this has been going on in the past. So those people that have been over the youth, the 6th, 7th grade through the high school,
sure,
have been participating. And I said, we want this to continue. And as I had mentioned before to you, so I said, I don't care how you do it, but I'm going to tell you how we're doing it. And then you can take it and run with it and do it any way you want to. I just want you to turn in the numbers.
Sure. I
said, you can send cards. You can offer up prayers during the meeting. I said, you can send them texts. You can send them visits to the healthcare facility. You can do it any way you want to. You can do it every month. And that's what's been going on. So I went to Austin Sunday morning or last night after church, and I said, I just want to know if the youth like participating in the care group. He said, oh, yeah, they're doing a real good job. And I said, well, our numbers were really big for August, like 300 or 400 more than normal. I said, how many did you send in for August? He said, well, it was about 300.
Team 3, the youth group.
I actually need to make that. Yeah, I need to make a team 3. And so glory, all the glory goes to God, but I have to give Austin, for taking off with it and running it with it, because I figured he'd turn in 15 or 20, So I was really shocked when 300 people. I know what he's doing. In the past, they have they have a card or a visit, and there'll be several people go on that visit or several people sign that card. So they're calling that one contact. So what he's done, I guess each individual youth is sending a card or call or something, and so that's why those numbers. But anyway, that's God gets the glory, and all those people are getting some attention. And
it's good. It's good to have the youth involved and get used to doing that stuff.
Well, they'll do it when they get older. Then, if we teach them when they're young, just like getting up leading the youth, get up lead prayers, and do announcement stuff, they're going to do that when they get older. It's kind of like we did. It's a scary thing to get in front of a church the size of Will Avenue, because you feel like, maybe you're not worthy, but everybody needs to feel worthy, and you need to feel good about getting up there. If you do it with young people, like you say, it'll be a little bit easier when you get older. So that's a little overview. So.
Well, so we've talked about the logistics of what it looks like from our side. What is the reaction that you're getting from these people that we're visiting, that we're sending cards to, that we're calling or sending the text messages to? And I'm sure it's a variety, but what impact is this having?
I'll give you some examples of what people tell me, and unfortunately, they do tell the elders some, and very seldom do they tell the people that's actually doing the contacting. But they call their family or some member that's associated with the people that's been visited or called or contacted, or the prayers offered up will let me know. They'll run me down in the grocery store. Or they'll run me, in church and grab a hold of my arm and say, I've never seen so many cards my mother got last month. There are cards all over the place. And I remember what Pat Grimes told me when Jim was living, and she said that Jim lived to go to the mailbox to see what card was coming that day, and that touched my heart. And he couldn't walk by himself. He had to have assistance to walk out there, and she said that was probably the bright part of his day was checking the mail. Yeah. So that ought to answer your question. But the people appreciate cards, and of course. And I'm going to speak out about the prayers. We've got prayers on the list. We put that on there when we changed everything in 21-22, because I think praying is something that we need to do every day. I think it's God listens to our prayers. And I say, if that child or if that person that signed up to contact that person, and the way I tell the teams is that if you're going to send a text message or send a card to somebody that month, I want you to say a prayer for them at that same time.
Sure.
That would be two things. And I said, God's listening to your prayers, and then you can tell them in your card, I'm including you in my prayers. And people, I can tell you, Sean, that people want to be prayed for if they're sick. You may not have gone through so much. My daughter had 2 kidney transplants, and the first one was at Livingston, and I can't tell you how many prayers and cards we got with that first, both of them. But anyway, it means so much to get cards. Lindsay's Vanderbilt room on her first kidney transplant, the cards were being sent to Vanderbilt and to our house, but we take them to Lindsay, and so we tape them to the wall. And the nurses at Vanderbilt, they were all over the wall, all 3 walls. And the nurses says, I've never seen so many cards in all my life to come to any one patient. And, of course, she was there for, 2 weeks or something, going on through the transplant. So maybe that tells you a little bit, explains it the best way I can. Yeah. But people appreciate a card. They appreciate a prayer. And, there's no saying they don't really care about what you're doing until you show them that you care. Is that the best way to say it? People, a lot of people don't even want you to send them a card or offer them a prayer. And I would say to everybody in our church and whoever's listening in, is if you have a family member that's sick, if you have a cousin that's sick, if your husband's sick, child's sick, anybody that you're concerned about, why don't you let the church know? Sure. And then we can put them on this is the care groups are not just about this church. They're a church about family. If you look on here, a lot of these people don't come to this church, and these families are worried about them. I've got a cousin that's in Vanderbilt that had an aneurysm. She's got a drain in her skull right now, draining the fluid off to relieve the pressure, and she's getting cards right now from this church. So, and I understand the privacy thing about prayers and cards and stuff like that, and that's okay. I think that's fine, but I really would encourage anybody that's listening to this podcast or that's having some kind of medical condition, or like Brenda Williams is having surgery tomorrow. I didn't know it. I just missed her at church, and I was up there talking to Houston. And I asked Jerry, I said, "Well, where's Brenda?" I said, "Well, she's got surgery Tuesday. It'll be her last surgery." And I said, "Well, I didn't know that." He said, "Well, I tried to tell somebody to get it announced." I said, "Well, I'll take care of that tonight." So she was in the announcements last night. But everybody, not just that way, but I mean every way. Tell us. You don't have to get a hold of me. Just call the church office.
I was just about to say, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Easy way to do it is just dial that church number, and we'll give that to you right now. I've got it somewhere or another. Maybe I didn't bring it in.
Hey, you know what?
You got the church number?
No, but editor Sean does. It's right here.
Yeah, we got the church number. You can call 432-931-432-2333. And there's actually, I have to give a heads up and compliment to Mike Dyer that does such a good job. He runs what we call the care line.
Sure.
And so what he does is if you contact him or the church or anybody, the elders or me or anybody, we'll give Mike Dyer this information, and he'll put it on an email that's emailed daily, and you'll see the updates and everything that's going on with people that are requesting prayers. And it's called the Care Line, and you can call the Care Line at 931-432-6333 and find out who is sick and who needs prayers and things like that. Now, the email, you'll have to request that from Mike Dyer, and he'll put you on an email mailing list, and you'll get that. I know sometimes days I get 2 emails, on updates, but I can find out. And if I see something, another thing that the elders we can do is check that information, say, well, they went home, Mike, we can take them off that list too, So,
sure.
But I'd encourage anybody that has sickness or people suffering or they're concerned about them is tell the church, let us know about it. We'll put them on, let's send them a card or something.
Well, and you may not know this, but if you do have the Lightpost app, there is a prayer request feature in there.
There is.
And I've been told that I'm not allowed to check those people off, right? Because Miss Kim or Riley does that in the office.
Yes.
And that way, once they see it, it goes through all the proper channels of where it needs to go to.
You are correct.
It probably goes to Mike. It probably comes to the care groups. It probably gets to the bulletin that way. And it does get into the actual prayer list section in the app. Which they have broken down in so much detail. I was looking at it just a couple days ago, and they have it broken down into different types of prayer requests, whether they're long-term or short-term or family members or whoever else.
That's the way it's on the care team.
Exactly. So that's always a good resource.
I like the app. We haven't talked about the app. A lot of people, ask questions about the app, but anytime you change something new like that and you leave the old app, which was simply just a directory, and you come into a new app, there's going to be a lot of questions and misunderstandings and concerns and stuff like that. So even when we had the new app and put it in a few years ago, I mean, it took us 6 months to a year to ever get used to it. You know? So it'll just take us a while. I mean, you got to play with it. It's a computer. You can't tear it up. Just get in there and go ask what I do.
That's true. Yeah.
But they ask me, and I don't know everything about it. And I'm always referring them to you. And Josh, y'all have done a good job with that.
Thank you.
And a lot of churches are using it. We were in. We were in Pigeon Forge camping last week, and we went to the Great Smoky Mountain Church of Christ, and they were talking about the Lightpost out Mount Punch Sandy.
Crazy thing.
They got it too,
Crazy thing. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That guy who's developing it down there in Texas, I think he has his hands full.
Yeah, so. I'd say a lot of people are wanting the Lightpost app with you.
Yeah, it's good. So. Oh, all right. Well, let me ask you this. So you said you've been doing this for about, 7-8 years now going on? How has your perspective changed on this? What has you went into this looking at it, I assume, as here's a series of tasks we have to accomplish for a good reason. But how has that perspective changed over time?
Well, to begin with, it was a huge responsibility, and I think it kind of probably, we were. Let me tell you what happened at 16. Okay, in 2016, my daughter was sick, and she was moving back to Cookeville, and so we wanted to find her a home, church home, and we came to Willow. We'd been to Jefferson several times. We came to Willow. And it's closer to where we live, and so I'm going to make this real short. Anyway, we started coming with her, and we come Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and then, I get a lot of people here, and we kind of got encouraged to come more and more and more, and Lindsay liked it, and so we just started coming on a regular basis, and we told the church in Livingston we was probably going to come down here for a while. So anyway, when I took this responsibility over as a deacon, I wasn't used to 6 teams, 18 people, managing 18 people and all that stuff. And so during this transition from 16 to 20 when we moved, I was not only managing those 18 people and those 6 teams, I was trying to get rid of everything in Livingston and downsize, which I recommend downsizing because I was running 10 or 25 acres, 60, 70, 80 head of cattle. I was going all over the southeast buying, selling, and trading farm equipment. I had a lot up there at Livingston. And we had decided, Sandy brought it up, and I fought it to begin with. I thought I had a dynasty up there in Livingston, and I did not want to change the dynasty.
Sure.
And if you'd been somewhere for 45 years, you had it the way you wanted, But I had realized I was getting older, and it was pushing me just a little bit. So after I thought about it, we talked about it. I said, okay, we'll downsize and move back to the family farm in Cookeville that my brother had been taking care of. And he didn't like it when I told him that. And I said, well, it's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen next year. It's probably going to be a while, but we're going to build a house. Anyway, so that's from that transition from 2016 till we moved in our house that we built in March of 20 during the pandemic. I was dealing with getting rid of everything. I was getting rid of selling stuff. If I couldn't sell it, I took it to the recycling center. Very little did I bring down here in Livingston, but the last thing I brought down here in Livingston were cows.
Yeah.
My cows that I had behind the house. I had 5 farms rented, but the house and the farm, I had the heifers, the cows. So the last thing I brought in 21, after we sold, I'd asked the people that bought it if I could leave the cattle there till the September of 21. And that'd be the last, if they'd allow me to do that, because I couldn't get everything done.
Sure.
So September of 21, I moved the cows, which is the last thing I had up there anyway. So what you're asking me is, during this transition and me doing the visitation team system, I thought of myself as a manager, and I could not deal with the people individually. I could not pay attention. I didn't spend much time. All I was dealing was talking with people that were leading the teams, the elders, getting it up and running. So it's all changed now.
Yeah.
Now I have more time, and now I live here, and now I can go to the people and ask them, how's your mother, brother, sister, child? I can spend more time searching. And the example I'll give you of this is Joshua had found somebody on Team 1, Pat Goodpasture. And he couldn't get a hold of her. We had the wrong phone number.
Yeah.
So he come to me, and I said, well, I'll take care of that. I know where she lives. She lives on my way home.
Sure.
So when we went down Willow, we just stopped down there in the subdivision after church one Sunday, just back in August, and knocked on the door. And her son come to the door, her grandson come to the door. And I said, we're looking for Pat. Said, well, she lives here. And I said, well, she's changed her phone number. Yeah, she's using my phone number. I said, oh, you care? I'm Ron Johnson, Will Avenue, He understood. He was really nice. And so he brought her in, to the door, and we talked a few minutes. And I said, we just hadn't heard from you, and we want to know how to check in, So I had time to do that. I didn't have time at 16 to do it. So we got her number. We've updated her number, and we got our grandson by it right now. So that's just one example. And just like going to jury yesterday and asked him where Brenda was, I can do that. And I have time to run around in the church. I have time to call people, and I have text people all the time. And Sandy sends the cards, and I kind of do the other kind of stuff, So I have a lot more time to individually offer care and find information about what's going on. And so I try to help Mike as much as I can. Those updates I just send to Mike, I say, here, we need to update the church, So I do that. And Kim does a good job, She has to answer a lot of questions and put a lot of people down of what's going on. So I don't know if that answers your question, but my perspective is I have a lot more time to offer care and concern and contact to the people, and I didn't do that the first 4 or 5 years.
Been rewarding.
It's rewarding to do that, yes. Where I was really under the gun, sweating, you wouldn't think 18 people would be hard to manage, but believe me, they had to change. They'd quit or they didn't want to do it no more. I had to find somebody else, and so people got to say, "Well, here comes Ron. He's wanting me to do something."
Yeah. Well, it being a much more flatter organization now, it's probably a whole lot easier to manage.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't keep going. I'd had a nervous. I just don't think to start it back up. I told him I couldn't do it that way. You're going to have to, I didn't give him an ultimatum, but we just can't do it this way anymore.
Sure.
It's too detailed, and it's confusing to the people that's on the teams, and there's just, it's too extraordinarily large to manage in any kind of way and have the effect that we needed. They agreed with me. But it looked good in 17, and we were blessed to have Clarence DeLoach, to help us because he had all that lifelong experience, and then of course you got Dan Huffines, you can't say enough about Dan Huffines, and then Tom had been on it before, and I had just a little bit of experience, so
yeah. All right, well, so this sounds like a very active part of our congregation, and it sounds like from the tour you gave me earlier of the table that's set up, like you are equipping everyone who gets involved with this with the information they need, the supplies they need, and the motivation that they need, right? So if someone wants to get involved, what's the best way at this point?
Good question. I'm glad you asked that. So what we say and what we'd like to do is anybody that's interested in helping, and like I said, we got 65 people, but that's not near enough people to do. If you look at what needs to be done is we have 100 people. Okay, don't you think they need to be contacted every week instead of once a month? That would be kind of a goal that we'd like to set. So these 60 people or 45 people that are attending these meetings, they're probably having contact, several people monthly, But what we'd like to do is you look for the retired people. I know if you have young children like you, it's very difficult to find time to be a part of a team. So first thing is you do not have to come to the team meetings. You can if you want to. Part of that 65 people do not come to the team meetings. They go to the desk to look at the master copy to find out who they want to contact, okay? So that would work out okay. But we're looking for people that are concerned about other people that have time to help out, and you can make a phone call, you can send a text, you make a visit, you can send an email, and offer up a prayer. Either one of those or all of those. So how you do this is contact the church office and say, I just want to know a little bit more information about the care team system, the visitation system, or you can contact any elder. We have either 3 or 4 elders that are on teams. Or they can contact me anyway. My number's in the app, 931-881-5252. We'd be glad to sit down and explain to you, and I'm still asking people to be a part of it. These new church members, as you well know, when you come into the Well Avenue, it's hard to know everybody. But
Sure.
boy, you can learn them real quick on a care team
Yeah.
meeting, because they're discussed on the care team meetings, who's sick and, who's been visited and the updates and everything. So you can learn the people a lot faster. But it's a good way to get to know people. And I know, you go on vacation, and I tell her, don't worry about it. Go on you deserve a vacation. Get away. If you want to go for a month, that's fine. When you come back, we'll still be here, and you can catch up, So, and people have sickness, and I know they can't come to the team meetings, and that's okay too. But, anybody can be, just like Austin's got the high school and 7th grade up kids helping, and that's a wonderful thing. So anybody can be a part of this. And if you decide that it's a little bit more than you want to do, then you can step off the team. And I tell them, I said, you don't have to be on a team all the time. If you want to take a break for 6 months, that's okay too. But, I've got the information sheets. They're on the visitation desk. If you just want information, and you want to think about it, then I didn't bring the green sheets. I have green informational sheets that are in the desk, and all they have to come to me. And that's the way I talk to people before we re-signed up. I take that information. Here's about the care team system. If you kind of like to look at that and think you want to be a part of that, we'll have sign-ups coming up, or even after we had sign-ups coming up. So, people want to know what they're going to respond. First thing they're going to want to know is what? What is my responsibility?
Sure. What type of time commitment is this?
And is it going to cost me anything?
Yeah.
So we'll explain there's very little responsibility and there's no cost. Then they kind of say, oh, okay, well, I've probably got a time send a card or something. I don't know if I answered your question good enough or not.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
I have to say, this has been the easiest interview I've done because I've done about 5% of the talking. But it has been excellent, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the care group goes in the future.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Sean, for asking me.